Greetings, friends, and welcome to Beast Foundry. My name is Christian, and as usual, I will be your guide today. So today, I would like to talk a little bit about character creation. Now, I'm not actually going to get into the nuts and bolts of everything you need to do to create a character, which I can if that is a video that you all want to see. Go ahead, please leave me a comment letting me know. I'm happy to make one. But today I'm going to talk about character development and expectations. Your DM say, hey, we're going to start a new game, or you're already part of a game, you're making a new character. It's actually kind of important to check with your DM and find out, what does that entail? What do you mean by that? Do you want me to throw together some numbers and just have someone that you are going to completely shape a story for, and I don't really need to come up with a whole lot? Do you want me to come up with a big backstory? You'll always see these pictures of like a kitten and a lion, and it says my character's backstory, and it shows the lion, and then say my first level character showing the kitten, meaning you can really overdo it on your backstory to where this doesn't make sense for the character that you're actually playing. It is okay, though, to have expectations, to tell your DM and say, this is kind of what I want for my character. Is this okay? I would love for components of this to happen. I would love to play this out. You're part of the game as well. It is okay for you to exercise a little narrative control and ask for these things. If you want your character to have, hey, I really want my character to, I love this town. I want to move in here. I want to look for a house and things like that. But, do give your DM a little heads up that this is something you're very interested in, because if you just start doing it, they don't know what you're doing. They don't know what to prepare. And it can be very daunting for people to come up with these things at the spur of the moment. But having goals for your character is awesome. As a DM, I love that. The more you know about your character, the better. And asking for these things and giving a direction for the character is really cool and very fun to help develop and work with that player to make a really cool story. But sometimes there are adventures that doesn't matter. If you're playing a full-fledged Paizo adventure path, there isn't actually a lot of room for you to do those things. They're very, okay, we move from point A to point B to C to D, and there isn't a ton of room for you to develop that. That doesn't mean you can't make room, but it is something that needs to be discussed, and you need to cover it saying, I'm probably going to want some room here. Or even if the game's already going, say, I really love this aspect of it. I want to do more here. And see what you can come up with together. It's a cooperative game. And I often hear people say, oh, there wasn't enough role playing in it, or there was not enough fighting, or too much of either of those. Well, did you say anything about that? Did you talk to them and say, I really enjoyed this, but, there's a little too much fighting. The fights take too long, or there's too much role playing. I'm getting a little bored. And it's okay to have these discussions also as a group, because it's about finding a balance. When you have a bunch of people come together, it's pretty rare that they all align perfectly in their wants and desires out of the game. If they do, that is amazing. That is a fantastic game. But there's also nothing wrong with having these things not line up, because it helps us grow as players. It helps us grow as people to make room for things that we're not used to, or experience some things that we hadn't considered, or maybe even that, we're not super comfortable with. I don't like role playing. I don't like being in the limelight. I kind of shy away from that. It's okay to experience a little of that, though. You shouldn't force something like that onto someone that doesn't enjoy it. But, there's the old expression, pushing boundaries, and, you may like it if you try it. And these sayings all exist for a reason. I know there's a great deal in today's society of we need all of the safety measures and things. And if you're arachnophobic, okay, no spider monsters. Okay, well, they're great. I mean, if someone has crippling fear of spiders and they can't even handle having imaginary ones, then yes, you should not force them into that situation. But it's okay to have the conversation to say, oh, I was planning some stuff and there might be a spider. Are you okay with that? And, oh, I don't know. So, okay, well, I'm going to proceed on with this, but if you don't like it, let me know and we can stop, we can change it. It's a tricky issue. Everyone is entitled to their fun, and I've never been at a table where someone purposefully is trying to make someone not have fun. So I think it's a cooperative game, and people can sometimes forget that everyone at the table is responsible for helping everyone have fun. And that means players too, that you need to help your DM have fun. If they created this town and you meet these NPCs and he has a name for that NPC immediately, he spent time on that NPC. They were created, they have personality because that effort was spent doing that. So to just kind of, oh, cool, okay, anyways, I'm gonna go here, at least engage a little. Maybe that person spent days crafting tons of NPCs thinking my players are going to interact with them, and they didn't. And oh, okay, well, I guess that was a waste of my time. I'm not going to do that in the future. And later you're like, oh, what's this NPC's name? I don't know. This is their name. Bob. This is Bob, the shopkeeper. And oh, this is Gretchen, the barmaid. And this is, Hilda. She is the captain of the guard. You're just throwing names out there, but they don't have personalities. They don't have any of the accoutrements that make them really stand out to your players. And as players, that can be a little on you. Now, again, this is where the conversation comes in, where you say, so do you want us to be interacting with your NPCs? Is that something you want us to do? Are we going to be having fun with that? Or do you like, oh, dear God, no, that sounds awful trying to come up with 30 people that you might come across to name them all and figure out who all these people are. No, I don't want that. All of this is okay. There is no right or wrong answer here. The key is to just talk about it and figure out what it is that you want out of the game. So back to character creation, making that giant backstory. Talk to your DM before you do that. Say, hey, I have this really good idea for a backstory. I'm trying to figure out how it works into being a first level character. Any ideas? What would you like here? And sometimes having campaigns start at 8th level is fun because you get to make those really awesome backstories and have a character that's far more representative of the really cool things that happen that you came up with. So it's all about managing expectations and communicating where we're starting, what we're doing. I think with just a little bit of effort there, everyone has a really good time. Now, another thing that I will say is discussing with your group, either saying like, hey, do we want to come up with a team? Like, are we all going to mesh together? Are we all just going to make characters and not talk to each other? It can be a problem if you run into a party and like, we've all made rogues and oh, shoot, this is harder than I thought because we all ended up being rogues. If you as players are willing to accept that, then that's okay, but the game's not designed for that, meaning they expect you to have access to some of the magic that is available. So there might be times where you feel very stymied or stumped at not knowing what to do or at an impasse because there's a huge amount of game resources that are not available. Okay, Rogue's probably a bad example because they have, through various feats and things, they have a really good way to access almost everything, but you get what I'm saying. This kind of communication is great, or even saying, do we know each other? It can be sometimes not fair for your GM to be, okay, so none of us know each other, so go, start. Where are we? Oh, well, I wasn't expecting that. Okay, so you guys are all in a tavern and you've been contacted by a local noble and he needs your help, which is fine, but it's also a very meh beginning to your adventure. Where if there's been a little bit of planning and the DM knows what to expect and knows something about the characters, they can plan a little more and make that far more impactful and tell a better story. It's all about creating these tools to create that story for your character? Do you have an end goal for your character? Are you just here to like, nope, we're doing this adventure path and we're going to go through it? There's no wrong answer, and both of these can be an amazing time. But if 3 people thought we're just going to go and do this adventure path and have a great time, and one person was like, oh, I was really excited to interact and I want to meet the mayor or the lord and I really want to get involved in this stuff, but none of that's happening, that person's going to feel very left out and, start to not feel as important. They may design their character around social interactions and things like that. And if there are none, that can be a little disheartening that you've put all of this effort maybe into your backstory and your character build, and then to find out your character is 70% useless. So it's okay to communicate that to players as a GM as well. Say, hey, we're doing this adventure path and I've been looking through, and I will say that there's not a ton of this. So I'm not saying don't do it, but I'm also saying if you want to gear your character 80% towards this aspect and it's not really in there, that's something worth noting. That's okay to give someone a heads up, just like it's okay to give the heads up that, I'm severely arachnophobic or whatever it may be. And again, it just all comes down, like I said, managing these expectations and clear communication of what it is that you want out of the game. All of these things kind of add up to just having these very good conversations, and session zeros are awesome for this. I'm a huge fan of session zero. Maybe not necessarily like, session zero can be very loose. It doesn't have to be, oh, we're all going to meet at this time. Our first game is going to be session zero. We're not actually going to play. We're just going to talk for 2 hours about that. You don't need to go that route. You can if that's what everyone wants to do. But I find session zero can often be handled in just a couple of group texts or even numerous individual ones, and other people can manage coordinating their characters with the other players. So there's a lot of ways to handle that. I think at the end of the day, it's okay to have your individual wants, but they also need to be tempered with what kind of game is going to be happening. And it's always okay to say, I want a game like this, and to let your DM know, then maybe they can start thinking about that and find some other people that are interested in having a game like that, or they can start crafting a game like that. Don't just sit around and hope you get what you want. Be active in trying to facilitate what it is you want. So as always, if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe and leave me a comment below letting me know. Do you agree with this? Do you disagree? And also, if you guys have specific subjects you want me to cover, I am happy to do it. I'm all ears. Let me know. So as always, game well, my friends.